And I can tell you the guys I play golf with certainly don't know what I'm talking about. That's for sure. Well, first of all, I've got a little list of things I want to say here, so I want to make sure I don't forget someone or something. So first of all, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank each of you from the bottom of my heart for this recognition. I'm so incredibly humbled by the fact that Engage took it upon themselves to take this evening in honoring my work. I have to say that it's been an incredible joy since 1971 to be an educator in this country. And I have to say that not every day, not every hour is perfect. But if you look back on that time, I cannot tell you that I would have wanted to do anything else. And I'm so terrifically pleased and honored to become an educator and teach children and teach young adults who want to become teachers and so on. I'd like to thank Engage. I'd like to thank Frank, Martha, Jane, Lucia, and David for their work. I also want to thank Monica for your wonderful words, and Herb and Mary and others. It's just unbelievable what you've said, because again, I don't recognize this person. I have a story for you, and I'm going to kind of read through this. But when you start to think about retirement, you start reading stories about aging. So I'm reading this story about these 3 elderly men that went to the doctor, and they're having some cognitive problems, and so they're really proud of themselves that they made it to the doctor. Now they're sitting down in the room, and the doctor walks in, and they're all 3 in there, and he just looks at the first gentleman, and he says, he's checking their cognitive skills, and he looks at the first one, and he says, "What's 5 times 5? The older gentleman, the first one, says 190. The doctor knows he's got some problems beginning here. He says to the next one, "What's 5 times 5? And he says, "It's Wednesday." He says, "I'm having really serious problems now, I can tell." And he looks at the third one, he says, "What's 5 times 5? And the third gentleman says, 25. And the doctor goes, "Wow. Wonder actually gets it." He said, then he looked at the gentleman who got the correct answer, and he said, "How did you get it?" He said, "Easy. You subtract Wednesday from 190. Now this is a dedicated doctor. Now that's the part I heard. I've added a little bit to this. This is a dedicated doctor. So he goes and he starts checking the background of these 3 older gentlemen. And he finds out that they were all math majors. And he says, "How could this be?" And then he looked at their transcripts, and they were from UNM. I should probably end right there, but I'm not going to. First of all, I think when you think about being a teacher, you start with your students. And I look back on my career, and I think about those middle school kids I've taught, those high school kids I worked with back in the 70s, the hundreds and thousands of actual students I placed in field placements and things of that nature over the years, and worked with them while they're student teaching and doing their internships, and hearing the wonderful stories of accomplishments and hearing the very challenging stories that many of our students face. And I have to tell you, at New Mexico State, we have the best group of students that you can ever imagine. They're committed, they're persistent, and they don't give up. They keep plugging along. And I know we talk about 6-year graduation and 7-year graduation, but you know, that's just a sign of commitment. It's a sign that our students work and are not willing to give up. And I'm so proud to be part of an institution that recruits students like that, and those kinds of individuals that go on to become teachers and engineers and accountants and other types of things and so on. And so for me, the whole process has been about students. And then you think about your other responsibilities and what you're doing. My faculty and our staff that we work with at New Mexico State, and people that are here from my college, and you think about loyalty, and you think about people like Rudolfo Chavez and Herman Garcia, who've been here almost 30 years. You think of people like Kevin Boberg, who's here, and he's been here close to 30 years. And the kind of life commitment that individuals give to an institution. And Donna, been here for a long, long time and worked with us and so on. I mean, it's just amazing what we see at New Mexico State in the form of our students and our faculty and the kind of commitment that we have. And then we have an icon over here in Coach Henson. I mean, can you imagine you're throwing a party and Coach Mason shows up? I feel like king of the world. I mean, are you serious? You know, and by the way, just so you know, being a Mizzou fan, I used to cuss him. I would scream at him. I threw things at the TV. I called him every name imaginable when he was coaching at Illinois. We lost most of the time, unfortunately. And we had good teams. So, I mean, when you have the kinds of people like that commit themselves to this institution, you can only be so incredibly proud to be part of it. I have a wonderful group of department heads, and Jeanette and Mary are here tonight, and I don't think any of the others are here, but I want to say thank you very, very much for your ongoing support and the work that you do. You represent your front lines of what happens at the university, and I thank you so very much for your efforts and your work on behalf of our students and so on. So now you think about your life influences when you get ready to go to this stage. And now it gets a little emotional, more so than normal. So this may be hard. Start with my mom and dad. My mother, who's the first generation born in this country, went to school not speaking English. Her parents immigrated in 1908 and 1911 from Italy. My father was a country boy, grew up in the Boot Heel of Missouri, and I mean country as they come, and had limited formal education, finished high school like my mother. They lived through a depression. They lived through a world war. They raised 2 sons. And what I remember from my parents and what I got from them was love, safety, and security. And I always knew when I went home that they were there for me. And I can tell you how much I appreciate that. You think back on what they experienced and how they lived their lives. It was about their children and making the life better for their children. And I've tried to live that for mine, and I'll talk about mine in a minute, and I can guarantee you I'll probably cry then, but that's a different story. The other thing about my parents is my dad would have probably been arrested today for child abuse. Just telling you. The old idea, spare the rod, spoil the child, that was his motto, man, I'll tell you. I remember the time I had to go pick the switch off the tree. I'm just telling you, so that was the day. And you know what? I have only love and respect for my parents. But I do remember the fact that in the early days, if you messed up, you paid the price. I have a couple of friends that aren't here. I have an old friend of mine named Jim Davis, who really was the person who got me started. And I graduated with I think maybe I barely had a 2.5. I'm not sure, with a GPA. That would have been a stretch. And Jim convinced me that I could do graduate work. And I don't know what he saw in me, but we were colleagues. And he and I started teaching in 1971, and we're friends to this day. And it's because of him, much of him, because I stand here today, because he told me I could do it. And so I want to thank him, and even though he's not here, and express my appreciation for that. What about the people you work for and work with? I worked with numerous deans, wonderful people. I worked for Howard Roberts at Northern Arizona University. He served in World War II, stepped on a landmine, blew half a leg off, had his back fused, and he was a bear of a man. And he growled at times, and he growled at times, but he, in his heart, was a teddy bear. And that's what I remember from Dr. Roberts. I worked for a guy named Jack Scalette at Emporia. And Jack was, you think Gary Carruthers is a good politician? This guy was better than Gary Carruthers as far as his political contacts and networking. And what I learned from Jack Scalette was you even work with the people you couldn't stand. You even work with the people in support of those people who gave you the greatest headache and heartache, because those are the people that you had to bring into the fold. And he was a master at that. And then I had a chance to work with Barbara Simmons. Barbara Simmons hired me. To her regret to this day, I'm sure, no. And what Barbara taught me was compassion and humor. And I'll tell you a story about Barbara. I told this at her memorial. She had this peculiar laugh It's almost, I won't say it was a cackle, but it was peculiar. And she laughed a lot. And so we had a faculty member by the name of Keith McNeil. And Harvey, you remember Keith, don't you? Yeah. And Keith had this weird sense of humor. So every day he would, about once a week, twice a week, he would wander into her office and he would tell her a silly joke and she would laugh. And then he'd run off to pretend to work. It's too bad he's not here to appreciate that comment. One day he brought in this parrot. And this parrot would mimic whatever you said or did. So he comes into my office, he tells me this joke, and I laugh, and this parrot laughs back at me. So I said, oh, we got to do something here. So we put this parrot under Barbara's desk. And Keith came in and told the story, and Barbara started to laugh, and then the parrot laughed, and then Barbara laughed, and then the parrot laughed, and all of us, I thought Barbara was going to have a stroke. She wouldn't stop laughing. Humor. You got to have humor in this world. And then I had a chance to work with Bob Moulton and had a great experience with him. And what I always appreciated about Bob was he just allowed you to do what you needed to do your job. And he found a way to get you the resources, and I always appreciated about that. He was a consummate academic administrator and a great person in that respect. You've heard my golfing friends mentioned. They're all right here. They will not speak tonight. Yeah. They will not speak tonight. I will tell you that. I can tell you, that's for sure.
You think so? Huh?
Yeah, I know so. I got this microphone, you don't have. Our golfing group started with Dr. White and I, and it started in my first car ride to Las Cruces. He and his lovely wife picked me up in their little Beamer, remember that? We're driving to campus. And I'm talking, we're visiting, and of course I was talking, and Harvey will tell you I haven't stopped talking since. and I said, Harvey, does New Mexico State have a golf course? And he says, well, yeah, we have a golf course. I said, good. I said, do you play? And he gave me this little look, sly look. And I will tell you that he retired early because of all the money that he won from me on the golf course over the last 20 plus years, and so on. So we have a great group of individuals and wonderful friends, and I appreciate you all being here. So thank you all very, very much for coming and helping celebrate this. I'd like to talk a little bit about our present leadership, and Dan's here and Gary's not, but my 22, 23 years here, there's been no team better. And New Mexico State University is poised for some incredible greatness over the next 5 years and longer because of what Gary will do and what Dan will do. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to work with you and work with Gary. And I want to say thank you, Dan, for what you're already doing and what you're going to continue to do. So thank you very much, and Gary as well. Having this position I see as a sacred trust. And I use that word, chose those words particularly. Because when you're given the opportunity to lead a college, as great as ours is, with the kind of passion our people have, the kind of commitment our folks have to educating the people that are going to educate children and find support, to me, it is a sacred trust. And I hope and believe that over the last 20 years that I have provided the kind of leadership and support and respect and care and kindness that's been necessary to be successful. And I'm really incredibly proud to be part of such a fantastic educational family. Now I want to talk a little bit about my family.
Yes.
First of all, we have John and Leah, our granddaughter, and Isabella's on a trip. And I would just have to tell you that John Ross is just like a son. We have 2 wonderful granddaughters, and they're the pride of Jan and I. And we continue to find great love and caring and joy in what they provide for us. John, thank you very much for being part of our family. I have 2 unbelievable daughters. Teacher of the Year, Mindy Tapia. Mindy, congratulations. Going back to John, by the way, John was the early career teacher of the year recognized by the Chamber of Commerce about 5 years ago, right? So we've got So now that Jan and I have retired, we passed on a legacy of great teachers in school. Then we have my daughter Kristen, who's working for the university, and Kevin Boberg. This is the young lady who was shy and quiet and reserved, and she gets on a plane to Paris with a hotel room for 2 days. And the next thing you know, she's got a room and she's studying at the Sorbonne, and the next year she's teaching over there, and you're thinking, are you kidding? How could I raise a child like this? You know, certainly not me. So I have to tell you both how much I love you, how much I care for you. A parent's love for their children cannot be defined. Thank you so much. And then finally, the love of my life, as you know, she's not here. You know, what can I say?
That's why you get along so well.
What can I say? You know, I mean, we have a wonderful relationship, and I understand that she had a chance to go with the dance sport team to the national competition. That's where she is right now in Ohio, cheering them on tomorrow and the next day. And Hannah Cole identified her as a coach. I'm not sure what she'll coach, but she's been identified as a coach there. And so she is there cheering on the dance sport team. And I said, if you're going to miss this event, you better bring home 3 national championships this year instead of 2. Just as far as, you know, love of my life, 30 plus years. It's been a remarkable journey for the two of us, and having this incredible family and our wonderful friends. And in my entire lifetime, I never imagined a night like this. And I really was trying to think, who are they talking about? I wasn't kidding when I first said that, you know. But when you look back on a career over 40 plus years, there's a lot that goes on. And it's been an amazing run. And I'm not done yet. I want you to know, I'm going to be doing some other things. But it's been an amazing experience. And as an educator, it has been nothing but joy and a pleasure, like I said before. And I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for being here. And I so appreciate the support that you've given the university and given our college. And thank you very much for being here tonight. And go Aggies.